أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي نور قلوب العارفين بنور معرفته وأثبت فؤاد أنبيائه وأوليائه بقصص الأنبياء والمرسلين وأكمل إيمان المسلمين والمؤمنين بولاية علي أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أفضل الموجودات العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أعني أبا القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفدا واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعلموا أن ما غنمتم من شيء فإن لله خمسه وللرسول ولذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل صدق الله العلي العظيم. Today I've been asked to talk about the distribution of Khums, the religious tax. But before I talk about Khums, there are a number of other questions that people have asked. I'll quickly answer one or two questions. One of the questions was concerning a person, a scholar, a Jewish scholar of Islam, who has refuted the existence of 12th Imam, that no one has seen him. And he has started proving that there is no Imam, and many Muslims now believe in him. Well, sometimes people believe in what they want to believe in, and sometimes they believe because of the reasoning. So sometimes you believe because a person is stronger than you in reasoning, and they may convince you on something wrong, even on doing something illegal. Someone may convince you. There is no harm in breaking the law, and they convince you that there is no harm in taking some drugs, I don't know. So all sorts of people out there to confuse. The ulama believe that belief in a God is very simple. It is in our nature. So you believe in one God without any reasoning, without any complicated reasoning. So very simple reasoning proves the existence of God. But then why do the scholars write books and books and books and hundreds and thousands of pages proving existence of God? They say that they do that because there are people who are writing against God so much that they need to write the existence of God. They need to prove the existence of God in so many books, or so many reasonings they present, or proofs on the existence of God they present. So they go into so much detail because there are people writing against God. Likewise, we don't need to prove the existence of the 12th Imam al-Islam to the people. It is very simple that if you believe in 12 Imams, then it is very simple. Allama Muhammad Iqbal, one of the greatest philosophers of 20th century, he has written in Farsi, Urdu, English, even probably German. He didn't believe in the 12 Imams. And once he went to Allama Hayri, Allama Sayyid Abul Qasim al-Hayri and Allama Ali Hayri, father and son. They migrated from Iran to Pakistan. Well, there was no Pakistan then, to India or Lahore, the current day Pakistan. And they migrated and started living there. And he went to them and he said, someone, a Shia, took him to these scholars, and they were both philosophers, theologians, and experts in fiqh and tafsir and many, many different sciences. Very learned, many books. Their tafsir is very famous. The father and son wrote it, and the father started off tafsir called Lawame ut-Tanzil. You can't tell the difference when the father left off, where the son started. The father's Lawame Tanzil, each, there are 30 parts of the Holy Quran, not surahs, not chapters, but parts. So the Muslims divided it into 30 equal parts. So if they want to read it in 1 month, then they would just read one part every day. So he wrote one volume on each part. And I have in my library, one volume, which is big, old one volume, like big, thick, 600 pages, 500, 600 pages in those volumes. If you convert it in today's writing, it will become two thick volumes on each part of the Holy Quran. 30 parts, so they were writing 60 volumes. Well, they were writing one juz, one volume on each of the parts of the Holy Quran. So 30 volumes, but today's conversion will be something like 60. But anyway, so father started writing and he wrote 13 volumes while he was writing. I think he completed the 13th volume when he was writing the 14th, or he didn't complete the 13th volume and he died. And the son continued from where the father left off, and he went up to volume number 27. So anyway, Allama Iqbal went to them and said, and slowly a person took him, took Allama Muhammad Iqbal to those scholars and into the majalis, and he became very close to them, and he asked them about the 12th Imam, and slowly they convinced him with proofs, and they said, if you believe in the first 11, then the 12th one you will understand. But if you don't believe in the first 11, then you cannot just suddenly understand the 12th one. So you need to understand the first. If you understand Imam Ali salam and you believe in him as your Imam, then you will understand the second Imam, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain, and slowly then you will believe in all 12, and you will believe in the 12th one and in his ghaibat. And first you need to believe in Allah's qudrat. It is Allah's power that has taken him to occultation. So the proof is that, for example, before I give you on the 12th Imam, the scholars say that, in olden days they used to have some wooden bridges with hanging with ropes to cross a river. And that's all you needed to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then they realized that no, we will have the cattle crossing the rivers and the big animals, and so they made stronger bridges. Then they said, well, we need the cars and the trucks to pass, and they wanted concrete and metal bridges, And the bridges became stronger and stronger because the weight to be carried on them was stronger. Likewise, the scholars, they say that all you need is just a very simple wooden bridge hanging on ropes to believe in Allah. But because there are so many people writing against God, that's why you need stronger bridges to prove Tawheed. And therefore, those strong bridges are there to prove Tawheed only because there are people against God. Likewise, you need very simple proofs to prove the existence of the 12th Imam alayhi salam. The Holy Quran says, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. The angels and Ruh, the Spirit, come down every Laylatul Qadr. تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. It is تَتَنَزَّلُ. It is present continuous. It is not تَنَزَّلَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. It is not past tense. It is present continuous. It's not, the translation is not that the angels and the Spirit came onto the Holy Prophet once. They came down once. No. It is tanazzalul malaikatu, meaning present continuous. Whenever Laylatul Qadr comes, the angels and Ruh come down onto earth. So in the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the angels came onto the Holy Prophet. They came to him to give him the message from Allah. In the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the angels came to Imam Ali alayhi salam. After the Holy Prophet, they came to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Then they came to Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Then they came to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And after Imam Hussain, the Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Today, who they come on to? Where do they come? Who do they bring the message to? So there must be someone like the Holy Prophet present today for them to kulle amr, to bring every command to him from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who's going to die, who's going to live, who's going to... All of this is coming down to someone who is special. And we believe that is Imam Zaman, Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam. So in the Holy Quran, there are many, many proofs. But this is another topic in itself, so I can go on and on about this. So likewise, there are many questions about Allah, I've given you an answer, and about Imam Zaman. In the absence of the Imam alayhi salam, the Khums, distribution of Khums. Now, when the Prophet was there, you would give the Holy Quran, the ayat from Surah Anfal, Surah number 8. This is in the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَعْلَمُوا, and be aware, أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُمْ, whatever you take in ghanimat min shay'in, from anything in mal ghanimat, so there are 9 parts that have zakat in the Shia, because the zakat is limited to 9 parts based on the hadith of Aimma Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. So zakat is wajib on 9 parts, and khums is wajib on 7. Imam Raza salam in his hadith in Wasail Shia has very clearly said that you will give zakat on 9 things: on dinar, dirham, gold and silver if they are coins. So if gold and silver are used as coins, so not on jewelry. On jewelry, if it is in use and there is no khums on it, if it is out of use, or if the gold and silver are, like in investment, when you buy the gold bars, silver bars, if you buy those bars, then there's khums on it if it is investment. Anyway, so 9 things have zakat. So if gold and silver are coins, then there is zakat. Then there are 3 animals on which you pay zakat: camels, so no zakat on horses and donkeys or other animals. And then cows and buffaloes, they have one category. And then there is zakat on goats and sheep. So now these are the 3 animals. So other animals, there is no zakat. On camels, for example, there are nisab. Nisab is when they reach a specific amount or number. That's when you give zakat. So likewise, on gold and silver, there is nisab for zakat. And for camels, I've talked about this before, but if you have 5 camels, then you give 1 goat in zakat. If you have 10 camels, then you give 2 goats or sheep in zakat. But if you have 6, still 1. 7 up to 9, only 1. As soon as you reach 10, again, then there are 2 sheep or goats. If you have 11, nothing. 12, nothing. So if you have 4, there's no zakat. So again, 11, 12, 13, 14, same applies as 10. As soon as you have 15, then you have 3 goats or sheep that you have to give as zakat. 16, still 3. 17, still 3. 18, still 3. 19, still 3. And as soon as you have 20, then you have to give 4 goats or sheep in zakat. So 11, again 2, 12 again. So if you have 21, then again same rule as 20 applies. Up to 24, same rule as 20. As soon as you have 25, then you have to give 5 goats or sheep in zakat. As soon as you have 26, then you have to give 1 camel in zakat. Anyway, now, and then again, then 36. So then there are nisab. There are 20. There are altogether, I think, 16 nisab for camel. And then there is zakat. Zakat. Again, I can tell you if you want. You can ask those questions, and inshallah, and then I will. These are called naqdain, dirham dinar. And then the animals also have their own nisab. And camels, buffaloes and cows on 20 and 30. So whenever they reach 20 or 30, on 20 you give a cow, or a buffalo, which is 2 years old, and when they reach 30, then you give a 3-year-old cow. So so the nisab of the animals, it's different. Anyway, sorry, I think it's 30 and 40. Yes, 30 and 40, not 20 and 30, 30 and 40. So 30 cows, you give 2-year-old cow, and 40 cows, you give a 3-year-old cow. And likewise, you keep going up. So if you have 50, then there's nothing. 60, then there'll be 2 2-year-old cows. And if it is 70, then you give again 2, but 1 2-year-old and 1 and 3-year-old. But in between, again, so you don't calculate. So if it is 69, then still the same rule as 60 applies. If it is 79, still the same rule as 70 applies. But as soon as it becomes 80, then you give 2 cows, which are 3-year-old each. When it becomes 90, then you give 3 cows, 2-year-olds each. Anyway, so likewise for goats, if you have 40, then 41, then you give 1. And then if you have 105, so there are nisab for zakat. And if a Sayyid gives zakat, then he can give it to Sayyid and non-Sayyid. And then you have the 4 crops on wheat, barley, on raisins, and on dates. But on rice and other things, you don't have zakat, but then you have khums. So on any of these, there is zakat. If they reach 125, if I'm not mistaken, 125 kilograms of nisab, if they reach that amount, then you give zakat. Then there is khums. Khums is on 7 things. Okay, so 7 things have khums. So what I have explained to you is basically the zakat. Now there are 7 parts which have khums. First thing on which the Imam al-Islam said that you have to give khums. So this is from Imam Sadiq al-Islam and also the Amma Ahl Bayt alayhi salam on Mali Ghanimat, on Ghanaim. So anything that you take from the war booty, from kuffar, with the permission of the Imam alayhi salam, if you go to war, only then you can take Mali Ghanimat. Otherwise, no. And also the trees or anything, things you take from them, like in gardens or trees, anything that land, on all of those things, anything that you take with the permission of the Imam alayhi salam, there will be khums on Mali Ghanimat and Ghanaim. Now the second thing on which khums is wajib, so anything you take in Ghanaim, for example, war booty, it doesn't have to reach a nisab. It doesn't have to reach an amount. Anything that you get, you have to pay khums on it. Now, second is mines. So if you have gold mine, or if you get from silver mine, or any of the mines, iron, metals, rubies, diamonds, anything you get from the mines, like Firoza, anything, you have to give khums on it. Okay. So the things that you get from mines, you take out your expenses, annual expenses, and then you give khums on the mines. The third thing on which khums is wajib is basically khans. Khans is treasure, any treasure that you may discover from the earth, from anywhere. So there is, on the treasure trove, there is khums. In olden days, people used to find many treasures, but now it's very rare. It is less common. So basically on ma'adin, and then basically on khans. Khans is treasure trove. And the fourth is when you dive into the sea, in the oceans. So anything you get from there, there is also khums on it. Whenever you find anything in treasure, in diving. Number 5 is when a kafir, when a disbeliever who lives in a Muslim state, and if he buys any land, then he has to also give khums. Number 6, al-mal mukhtalat bil haram. So anything which is when you have halal and haram mixed together, then you must give khums to make it halal again. So many people have haram earnings and halal earnings again, so then there will be khums on it. And number 7, anything, any other earnings and any other income that you may have. So if it is regarded as income, then you, at the end of the year, after going through all of your expenses, you pay khums on it. Do I have time? Yes. So you pay khums on it. So anything which is regarded. Now, ulama say mirath, inheritance, is not amongst those. And likewise, anything that you did not expect, or insurance money that you get, or pension money, golden handshake. So, so you don't have to suddenly pay on it. That is regarded as your annual income. So basically, it is not, it is amongst income. So you spend it, and then if you make any savings. Now, anything which is regarded as, then you pay khums on it, 1/5. Now, so the Holy Quran says that there are 6 parts when you pay khums. Khums means kul means full, nisf means half, nisf, thulth means 1/3, rub means 1/4, khums means 1/5, oshr means 1/10. So anyway, so you pay 1/5, which is 20%. You pay on the annual savings. So you had income of $100,000, let's say, and then you spent 90,000 on household expenses, mortgage, eating, ziyarat, all of those. You took out the expenses. At the end, you're only left with 10,000. You pay 2,000 khums. Now, there are 6 parts to khums according to the Holy Quran. فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ فَأَنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is a part for Allah, equal parts, وَلِرَسُولِهِ, and for his messenger, وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى, and the near ones, the relatives of the Holy Prophet, وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ, and for the orphans, for the poor people, and the people who are destitute, people who are traveling and they lose everything while they are traveling. So, people run out of their expenses, they're destitute while traveling. So these 6. Now, ulama have divided them into 2 parts. First 3 parts are called Sahme Imam, the part of the Imam. So Allah, Rasul, and the family of the Holy Prophet. These are called Sahme Imam, the portion of the Imam. Allah's part, you can't give it to Imam, Allah or the Messenger after the Holy Prophet. Everything that, so there are 3 parts that go to the Imam, which is called Sahme Imam, and 3 parts for Sahme Sadat. Khums is for Sahme, for Sayyid. So, half of it is for Imam. That can be spent on, in the absence of the Imam, the Marja Taqleed has the authority to spend it on Sayyids, non-Sayyids, any needy. And 1 portion is for the Sadat. Now, I'll be going into, I had to go into all of that detail to tell you. Now, how is it spent? So, Sahme Sadat. Sahme Sadat is a portion for Sayyids. Sahme Imam is the portion for the Imam al-Islam. In the absence of the Imam, you give it to the Marja. Now, Sahme Sadat, how most of the Marajis say you don't need the permission from a Marja Taqleed. But some Marajis say, like Khomeini, like Atullah Khamenei, like Atullah Makarim Shirazi, Atullah Zanjani, and probably some others, who say that it is Ihtiyat Wajib. Ihtiyat Wajib, obligatory precaution to take the permission from your Marja. So meaning they don't have a fatwa, but they have a precaution. In Ihtiyat Wajib, obligatory precaution, you can refer to another Marja. And all the other Marajis say that you don't need the permission from a Marja Taqleed to spend Sahme Sadat. Sahme Sadat meaning Sayyids who are needy, who don't have the annual expenses of 1 year. They don't have the annual expenses. Their full year's expenses they don't have. So that could mean for their house, for food, for expenses of their children if they're in education, for marriages, So if they don't have the annual expenses, then you can give them from Sahme Sadat. That's how they would deserve it. So and you can find if you're Sayyid yourself, then amongst your relatives, if they're anyone needy, then you give it to them. And anyone who doesn't give it to their relatives, who if they're needy, then their Sahme Sadat is not accepted. And if they give it to the family members, they get double the thawab for looking after the family and also giving the Sahme Sadat. So needy Sayyids, needy Sayyids, you give it Sahme Sadat to them yourselves. Then there is the Sahme Imam, which you give to Marja Taqleed. How is that spent? Now, briefly, the Aimma alayhi salam have given an outline, which I was basically referring to, hadith books on how the Aimma alayhi salam used to spend khums in their time. So the Aimma alayhi salam used to, even their portion, they would spend it on the needy Shias of the community. Now, these days, the ulama use it for the religious institutions. Religious institutions, the madrasas, they don't have any other income. So they basically, all the khums that the people take out, Sahme Imam, and sometimes even Sahme Sadat is spent on the religious students. So they get mainly, even in Qom, there are over 120,000 students. Najaf, another probably 20,000. I don't have the exact numbers now, but Najaf probably has about another 20,000 students. But Qom has 120,000, I'm sure, over 120,000. Mashhad, Pakistan has many. Pakistan has 7,000, 7,000, between 7,000 students all over Pakistan, over 500 madrasas. India, likewise, probably another 5,000, 6,000 students all over India, probably less, but around that, if that. So now all of these students and all over the world, so religious students, they receive a grant for education because they don't have any, mostly are from poor countries, poor background, many are well off and their parents support them, but they have a small grant for education, religious education. So their education is free. So the teachers, they get a small token of money for teaching for free. And religious students, they get a grant, usually about $40-$50 a month. They would receive in stipulants, monthly, shahriya as it is called. So, and the married students get $100 a month, some more or less. So some who are in higher education may get more, $150, $200. In Najaf, in Qom, in Najaf they may get probably $200 to $300 because Najaf is very expensive and it is. So Qom is cheaper, so they get some accommodation. So there's many ulama, that's how they spend. So they spend on housing. So madrasas, so dormitories, a lot of the dormitories, students living in them, they are provided for free. So they have, in our times, we used to get lunch, free lunch. But then we had to have our own, we had to pay for our own breakfast. In my time, we used to get something like, Tuman was strong, so we used to have, I think, $20 a month I used to get. But because I wasn't married, so I was living in the dormitory. So my parents used to support me from Birmingham, from England. They used to live in England, so they would support me. But generally, $20 a month is not a lot. But so you live in the dormitory and they give you lunch. In our time, nowadays, I've heard they give you lunch and dinner, and sometimes even breakfast. Some madrasas give you breakfast as well. So the monthly, so that's how the Khums Samimam is spent. It's spent on 100,000 to probably 200,000 altogether international. No, I don't think 200,000, but less than that. Students internationally altogether, the Shia students, 150,000, let's say, approximately 165,000, 170. So their education is basically their living expenses, like accommodation. It's very simple accommodation, and their food, and they monthly get a stipulant, of $20, $30, $40, depending on where they're studying, what level they're in. The beginners get very less. Some in Pakistan, they get probably $5, $10, $5 a month. India, Pakistan get very little. Africa also receives very little. But in Qom and Mashhad, in Iran, they will get higher, probably $10, $20, $30, $40, $50, like that, unmarried. And once you get married, you get a lot more. So $100 in Iran, and Najaf probably $200, $300. That's how it starts, and then they have to obviously, rent, and so they will get different. And then tabligh, religious centers, religious institutions, libraries. For tabligh, the people who go for preaching, they get a bit more, their travel expenses, and $200 for their, if Iranians probably will get more, $500, $1,000 a month if they are going to be living there. If they're going to be just visiting, then they will have less. But a lot of the students, most of the people, they don't get anything from Hausa. It's only for Iranians. Very few non-Iranians will be designated as muballighin. So for tabligh, very few people who get paid, or for teaching, very few people who get paid. In Iran, they will get paid, but outside, not really. Now, likewise, a lot of the homes that is distributed, many people get ijazas for their own masajid, imam bargas, they get, masjids, and imam Husayniyas, they get homes permissions, so they give homes and they use it themselves for many religious projects. So many of the religious projects are basically supported by, especially tabligh and institutions, religious institutions. They are supported through homes. So most of it is spent on tabligh work and appointed The Maraji themselves either appoint different people to distribute that Khums amongst the students, and they have deputies, representatives all across. Many don't have representatives all over the world, but many have appointed representatives, and many don't have representatives, but they give permission to the local scholars when they collect homes. So they spend it on Sayyids and Sami Imam. They either send it to the Hausa, Najaf, and Qom to spend on the religious students, or they get a small portion of it, let's say a third of it, what they collect, to spend on local projects if they have any. And if they need, then they can spend it on their own needs as well. Otherwise, they spend it on local projects and tabligh. And many don't have any permission to use any part of portion of homes. So anyway, so most of it is used in religious institutions and tabligh work. So that's how, in the absence of the Imam al-Islam, is khums used. Many scholars have also used khums to build hospitals, schools, institutions in populations where there is a Shia population, like in Qom, Adalagul Bagani built a hospital. In other parts of the world, they built, with Khums money, they have built big centers, offices, like Al Khoi Foundation. I don't know. They have built many, many institutions and Husayniyas, mosques, religious institutions. So different Maraji build different institutions. In olden times, even, like building bridges in the Shia towns where they had no bridge, nothing, when there were floods and everything. So it is basically used for the betterment of the Shia community. And it is used for the orphans, and a lot of orphanages are being run through it, and so different institutions are running on Khums on different religious programs. That's how Khums is spent. Let's pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, give us tawfiq to understand Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and follow them, obey them. Oh Allah, hasten in the reappearance of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, so he can run things better and improve the things how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them, institutions, the whole world properly, the orphans, the needy. There will not be any needy when the Imam Islam comes. He will feed them so well, he will look after them so well that nothing will be, no one will have easily money to spend on the poor people. Oh Allah, hasten in the reappearance of the Prophet Muhammad salam. Oh Allah, forgive us our sins, increase in our sustenance, in our knowledge. The people at Husaynia Islamic Society in Seattle, they've organized this. Oh Allah, increase in their tawfiq. Oh Allah, bless all the mu'mineen with prosperity, success, iman, and sustenance. Oh Allah, protect our holy sites. Oh Allah, remove all the problems and illnesses from the surface of the earth, all the viruses. Remove them, O Allah, and bless us with health, wealth, iman, and good understanding of Quran and Ahlul Bayt al-Islam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.